So we've learned how to change between fractions, decimals and percentages. However, there are some that we should be very familiar with and be able to almost quote rather than working out. And here's a list of some of them. A half, we should know that as a decimal that's 0.5. Very familiar with that. But we should also know that multiply that by 100 gives us 50%. 1/3. 1/3 is quite a tricky one because it's what we call a recurring decimal. The threes keep going on and keep going on. And sometimes you'll see this written as 0.3 with a wee dot on top. But more often than not, we'd like to round it and maybe round it to 3 decimal places or significant figures. So we'll round that as 0.333. Which means that when we write it as a percentage, we could write it as 33.333, or even better, 33⅓%. 2/3, something similar. You might see it written as 0.6 with a dot on top. That means it's 0.6666666. But actually, we'd probably write that to 3 significant figures again. We'll round it up to 0.667. And as a percentage, 66.7%, or let's do 66 2/3%. Quarters, 1/4 we know is 0.25, which is 25%. We've seen that in some of our examples. And 3/4, well, that's 3 times that. So it's 0.75 as a decimal, which is 75%. I haven't got 2/4 in there because 2/4 is a half. Fifths, we should know all our percentages and decimals for fifths. 1/5 is 0.2. So 2/5 is twice that, 0.4. 3/5 is twice, or 3 times 0.2, which is 0.6. And 4/5, 0.8. And likewise in percentages, 1/5 is 20%. 2/5 is 40%. 3/5 is 60%. And 4/5 is 80%. 8's a tricky one, but one that we should be familiar with. And if we are familiar with them, it'll save us a bit of time. 1/8 as a decimal, well, we actually have to divide 8 by 1. 1 by 8, and we get 0.125. When we multiply it by 100, we get 12.5%. Again, once we get the first one, we can work out the rest, because 1/8 is 0.125, so 3/8 is 3 times that, 0.375, which is 37.5%. Doesn't matter if you write 0.5% or a half, 37.5%. But 1/8 is 0.125, 5/8 is 0.625, it's 5 times that, which is 62.5%. And if 1/8 is 0.125, then 7/8 is 7 times that, 0.875, which is 87.5%. And the last one, nice and easy ones, tenths. 1/10 is 0.1, which is 10%. 2/10 is 1/5, so we've already covered that. 3/10 is 0.3, which is 30%. 4/10 is 2/5, so we've covered that. 5/10 is a half, so we've covered that. 6/10 is 3/5, so we've covered that. 7/10, 0.7, which is 70%. And finally, 9/10 is 0.9, which is 90%. So all these fractions, decimals and percentages, we should be fairly familiar with.